Hey everyone, I've been building out my workshop for a while now. This is just my hobby, I don't do this for a living, can you tell? But something I've needed for a while, and some of you may have the same need, is somewhere to store my dust masks. They've been hanging from hooks or laying on benches and they're always covered in dust when I go to use them. I saw Marc Spagnuolo do a video on making a cabinet using plywood, so I thought this was a good opportunity to make my own. Check out Marc, aka the Wood Whisperer, if you want a really good tutorial for shop cabinets. I'll put a link in the description. I had some leftover hardwood plywood from a large DIY store in the UK, no names, but over time some of it has delaminated and just isn't very nice on the inside. It's perfect for something like this though, where I don't have to stress about it failing on someone else. I cut the long lengths of plywood that I had left over from making the cabinets underneath my chop saw into manageable lengths and then trimmed them up on the crosscut sled. The approximate dimensions of the cabinet when finished are 330 by 420 by 210mm, or 13 by 16.5 by 8.25 inches, and that's mainly because that's the size of the space the cabinet needed to fit. Next I used the crosscut sled to put a rebate or rabbet on the side panels to accept the top and bottom panels. I then put a dado in the middle of the sides for the shelf. Then a kerf width dado along the back edge, inset about an inch for the 3mm plywood back. I had to inset this to avoid getting in the way of some electrical trunking that runs behind the cabinet. Then a quick dry fit to make sure everything sits together snugly. Tappy tap tap. And here you can see what I mean about the plywood delaminating. A quick spot of glue and a clamp and we're good to go. Add plenty of glue in the dados and rebates and then work out how best to use the clamps that are way too small for the job. Where there's a will, there's a way. The shelf in the middle was made up of 2 offcuts glued together to give the full depth. No point cutting up a new piece of ply for this. For all the edging I'm using some cedar that I had left over from the karate belt project. Here I'm jointing and planing the sawn timber so I can cut it to size. I'm using a piece of the same plywood to set the thickness of the door parts to keep the look consistent. I'm using my tenon jig to cut both parts of the bridle joint used for the door of the cabinet. I didn't film the cutting of those pieces, but they're from the same plywood thickness stock that I just cut. Simply scoring a piece of acrylic for the door and snapping it works a treat. I cut a dado in the door pieces for the acrylic, but I didn't film that. Where I cheated and cut the dado through the bridle joint, I just filled the holes with a piece of scrap cedar to match the end grain. I thicknessed some more cedar down to 6mm or 5/16 of an inch for the edge banding, and then I ripped it to the thickness of the plywood again. Lots of glue, lots of tape. My shooting board helps trim the banding to fit really tight. And once all the glue is dried, one of the more satisfying jobs. Clean up the protruding edge banding with the flush cut saw and hand plane. Because I have that electrical trunking behind the cabinet, I need to cut a notch in the top and bottom to accommodate it. The table saw makes quick work of that. Cheese! Using some more of the plywood offcuts, I made some French cleats to go on the back. As this is workshop furniture, a couple of coats of wipe-on poly will do the trick. I can always add something harder wearing if need be. I don't think I will. A piano hinge on the outside because it's simple and clean. I bought some 8mm neodymium magnets and put 2 in the cabinet and 2 in the door. They're more than strong enough to keep the door closed. An 8mm brad point drill bit left a clean hole and the magnets fit snugly inside. To make sure the magnets lined up, I just transferred the centre lines from the holes I'd already drilled and marked them onto the door. Then, using a piece of sandpaper, I scuffed up the magnets so that the epoxy would have a better chance of gripping them, making sure to keep the attracting faces clean so that they don't repel each other in the door. Some quick set epoxy mixed up and put into the holes holds the magnets just fine. And there it is, crammed full of stuff. Thank you for watching, if you made it this far. If you enjoyed the video, please like it and subscribe for future videos. Check out the end cards for some more videos you might like. See you around.